Hello everyone, so this is this month's design that I'm going to be showing you how to make. It's really simple, perfect for beginners. It makes a lovely little card, greetings card, especially kind of a thinking of you. And of course it's seasonal for January. Have you seen any snowdrops yet? I don't think I have, but we're starting to see some shoots in the garden. Anyway, so I just wanted to start by showing you. So this is one example, but I have got a couple of other cards of snowdrops. So I've basically done the same design. See if I can fit these all on camera. And I just wanted you to kind of spot the difference. I just wanted to show you that even though it's my own design and I'm following my own pattern, the cards are always still completely different. Not completely different, but there are differences. They're never going to be exactly the same. And of course, that's part of the joy of handmade anyway. But what I just want to say is that I don't want you to think that if yours isn't exactly like mine or one of mine, that it's somehow wrong, okay? I'm not the quilling police. So I'm offering you my idea. So run with it and make it your own. All I ask is that you don't use this to teach other people. If you know somebody who would like this tutorial, please just send them this way to join the collective and watch it here themselves. Okay, let's get started. Okay, materials. I'm going to be using the Japanese stamp paper because it's my favourite. And I will put the details in the notes just in case you want exactly the same shades that I'm using. But it's basically a warm white and then one of the greens. But as I say, I'll put the details in the notes. But of course, if you already have some papers, use whatever you already have. It will work just the same with standard paper. I am also using my superfine tip slotted quilling tool. If you only have a standard tool, that should work fine as well. We're not doing anything super tiny, so the standard should be fine. I've obviously got my glue in my fine tip glue applicator bottle. And the glue I'm using, as always, is the high tack all-purpose extra sticky glue. Again, if you only have PVA, that's fine, as long as it dries clear. That's the most important thing. I have got a ruler for measuring out my strips and also for making sure everything's level when I'm gluing them onto the card. I've got some scissors. I use the little embroidery scissors, but obviously any pair of scissors is going to do the same job. And then I've got a pair of pointed tweezers. Tweezers are generally really good just for having avoiding gluey fingers, having real control about where you're going to place your coils, and you can wipe away any blobs of glue with these as well. And then of course you need a card or paper or something that you're going to quill onto. Okay, and that's all we need. We're going to start by making the stems of the 3 flowers, okay? And for those, we're going to use a double strength strip. So basically, if we just used a single strip, they're going to be, especially if you're using standard quilling paper, it'll just be a little bit thin and harder to place exactly as you want to. So by doubling it up, it gives it some extra strength. And it just makes the colour stand out a bit more too, rather than just having one single strip of paper. It just makes it highlight the stem a little bit more. Okay, so I've got here one single full length of quilling paper. Whatever paper you're using, just use one length because we're going to be cutting it down. It doesn't need to be exact at all. And what we're going to do is line up the ends end to end, and we're going to basically just fold it in half. So we have a V shape, if it wants to be a V shape. And then what I'm going to do is open it up again, and starting at that fold, I'm going to put a line of glue all the way down the strip. Doesn't matter if it's a wobbly line, doesn't matter if it's a broken line. I'm just going all the way down, so there's glue pretty much all the way along. Then I'm going to fold it back over and very lightly, it's got to be light because you don't want to get paper cuts. I'm just running my fingers along the edge to make sure it's nicely lined up, and then you can press it down to not glue it together. Make sure it doesn't move around. Here we go. So we've basically made a glue sandwich. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. So do that again with one more strip, and I think 2 strips should be enough, and then just leave them to dry. Let's make some petals. Okay, so for the petals, we're going to have 2 flowers, 2 larger flowers. We're going to use half strips, or if you want to be exact about it, my half strips are 19.5 centimetres. So you want 6 of those, and then this flower is slightly smaller, so we'll have 3 strips of 15 centimetres. Okay, so 6 of 19.5 or half strips and 3 of 15 centimetres. Okay, so to start with the petals, I've got my quilling tool and I've got my strip of paper. We're going to start making a closed loose coil. Okay, so to get that, we pop our paper into our quilling tool and twist, and I'm going to coil all the way to the end. So all of the half strip, slide it off and let it go. Just show you another one. Slide it into the quilling tool. Wind it all the way to the end of that strip, slide it off and let it go. Now it's not essential that they're exactly the same size, but if you want to be careful about that, like what I would do is glue one. Oops, if my glue will come out, there we go. And then what I can do with the other ones is compare it to that first one. So you can see that this second one is slightly bigger. So all I need to do is just wind it up a little bit and then hold them next to each other and just let it unwind till it's the same size, and then glue that. Like I say, it's not essential that they're all identical, so don't worry about it too much. There we go. So I've got 2 there. I need to carry on, do exactly the same for the rest. If you want to pause the video now, then come back when you've got 6 of the larger ones and 3 of the smaller ones. To shape the petals, here's one that I did earlier. It's basically 1 teardrop and then 2 curved teardrops. So they go underneath like so, and then we put the teardrop shape on top, and that creates that lovely kind of bell-shaped flower. So what we need to do is get one of our closed loose coils, look for the end where you've glued it down, and what we're going to do is put the pinch there for the teardrop, and that hides any joins. So just pinch it between finger and thumb, and there you get a teardrop. And then for the shaped ones, I'm just looking for the edge that I've glued down, give it a pinch into a teardrop shape, But then what we're also going to do is just shape it around my thumb. Simple as that. Okay, I'll show you that again. So I've got the edge there that I've glued down, teardrop, and then press it around my thumb to give it a curve. There we go. And you can do it in exactly the same way, because obviously we can turn it over to be for the other side. Okay, so you need to do that for all 3 flowers. Okay, so we've got our petals, we've got our stems that we did first, and they're drying. So now what we need next, if I show you on the card, make it nice and close for you, we've got this little green thingamy bob. I'm sure it has a name, I don't know the technical term, but this like attachment that goes between the petals themselves and the stem. Okay, now this is the fiddliest bit of this make, because we are only using a very short piece of paper. It's exactly the same technique though, so just remember to breathe, take your time, and as I say, it is exactly the same. We're just using a very short piece of paper, so it is just a bit fiddlier. Okay, so this is 1/8 of a strip if you're using the tant paper, or 5 centimeters or thereabouts. Okay, so as I say, we're using exactly the same technique, so I'm going to coil it all the way to the end. We want our closed loose coil to start with. Slide it off, and you can see how teeny tiny it is. Okay, so let's get a little dab of glue on the end. And just make sure that's going to stick down. And then we just want to shape it. Okay, so again, we're just using like the curve of my thumb to shape the paper around, and we want kind of that kind of crescent moon shape in the paper, something like that. Okay, if you want to repeat that 2 more times, so you've got 3, 1 for each flower, and then we can start putting things together. We're going to start putting our design together now, and what we're going to do, obviously we've got our petals, we've got our stems, which should be nice and dry now, and we've got our little green thingamy bobs. We don't have any leaves just yet, but we can do them once we know where everything's sitting and what kind of space we've got to fill with them. So if I show you one of my finished designs, obviously you can see normally I have 1 flower off to the right, a little higher up one over on the left, and then underneath the smaller one. So I tend to have 1 stem going off to the right and then 2 off to the left, but of course you play with the design as much as you want to, or copy it exactly, it's completely up to you. Okay, so what we're going to do is put the flowers on first, and once they're down we can put the stems around them. Okay, so I'm going to get my petals, and just obviously they're not going to stay put very well because I'm not gluing them just yet, but I'm just going to work out roughly where they're going to sit. The little one underneath, and what I'm also going to do, I tend to get my ruler and just put it at the bottom of the card, so then the stems and the leaves can kind of be level there, and they're not going to be all higgledy-piggledy. So the stem will come down there, maybe move that one just up a little bit higher. There we go. I think that will be just about right. So they're, you know, they're not even flat, but I know they're rough positions, and this is where my tweezers are going to come in handy. I'll just move that one out of the way. I'll leave that one there so I know where I'm coming back to. I'm going to pop some glue, so just be really sparing with your glue. Little dots, mostly around the outside, little dot in the middle, and then I'm just going to place it down just there. If you've got blobs of glue, you can just use the tweezers to wipe them away. Get the next one. And place that down. Don't place them too far apart because you need a base. This one is going to, the teardrop is going to go on top, so you need something to be able to stick it to. So you can see here there's a gap underneath, so as long as I put a bit of glue on that side and a bit of glue on that side, it will glue to these two. I don't need glue anywhere else for this one. So just the two sides where it's going to be balancing on the bottom too. I'm just going to hold that in place for a second or two just for it to really stick. So obviously there's not a lot of surface area for it to stick to, so you just need to give that a moment or two to really make sure that holds. There we go. That's the job done. And then this one, I'll just move that out of the way. Leave that one in place so I know where I'm coming back to. Little dabs of glue. And place that one down. And the next one. Again, not too open. Ooh, a little bit more open than that. There we go. And then again, just pop that one, test that's going to work. And then glue the outer edge. Carefully place that down and just hold in place. Yep, there we go. Okay, and then I've just got the little one, so just move the teardrop out of the way. Ruler smoothing. So the little one I tend to have a little bit more closed than the other two. So I just don't have these two shapes underneath, just with a smaller gap between them, just to give it an appearance of just starting to open out. Still got a bit more growing to do to catch up with the other two. And there we go, that will go on there. Just hold that for a moment. There we go, that's all glued down now. So next we can take our thingamybobs. With this being so tiny, it really is handy to have some tweezers. And I'm just going to place them above the petals. So apply the glue. And they just sit right above the petals. Get hold of that one. Whoops. Stay there. Doesn't want to glue down. There we go. And last one. There we go. So they've got their little attachments. Okay, so next we need some stems. Okay, so the ruler I've got in place down the bottom, so that's going to keep it nice and level. So what I'm going to do is at one end, I'm just going to roughly just give it a gentle curve. You can use your scissors for this as well. You don't have to use your nails like I am. But just give it a gentle curve so it kind of bends over like so. And if you've ever seen some snowdrops, the kind of the stem kind of goes longer, it goes further over the flower. So that I think will be just about right. Make sure the ruler hasn't moved. I'm going to cut it. If I let go of that end, I'm going to mark it where I want to cut the stem. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. It's got a nice curve to it as well. So when I'm ready and I'm happy, I'm going to put little dabs of glue all the way along the edge. And this is where you'll really notice it's a lot easier with your doubled over strip. Just gives it that added bit of strength to hold the shape nicely and make it just a bit easier for you to glue on edge. So I'm making sure my ruler is nice and straight and put that, oh my hands are shaking. I want that to be nice and straight. Oh, it's not straight at all, is it? There we go. I'll just wipe up that bit of glue where I went a bit off kilter. There we go. I think that's straight enough. If you are slightly wonky or at an angle, you can always disguise it with your leaves. So don't worry too much. It's roughly standing up straight, and it's got this nice curve over there. Okay, so that's one of them. I'm going to use a fresh piece here. So that's the one I cut off that. I'm going to save that for the shorter one because I know it'll be more than long enough. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to put a curve in it again. We did these first to give them time to dry, because if they're still a bit wet and then you try and put curves in them, they can just get a bit ruckled. So that's why we did that. Okay, so I just want a bit more of a curve up here. That's it. And I'm going to actually put that next to that one. So work out, just pinch it with my fingers where I want to cut the stem. Place it on the card again just to test that I'm happy. Yeah, that'll do fine. Then get hold of it with my tweezers. Little dabs of glue. You don't have to cover every last bit of it. That's why I tend to go for little dots. Little dots are the easiest way with this little applicator bottle. So as long as there are little dots on a regular spaces all the way down. And then I place that there. Oh, there we go. And if you've got any blobs of glue like I have, you can just wipe them away. point of the tweezers. Lovely. That's 2 stems down, one last one to go. And again, I'm just going to put a little curve in there. So this one is going to stand on its own, separate from the others. So again, I'm just measuring where I want to cut. When I have cut, put it back on and check that I'm happy with that. That's fine. And get some glue along the edge. Make sure my ruler's straight. And then pop that down. Oops. You could do with having 3 hands at this stage. That would be really handy, wouldn't it? But just take your time. This is all curvy. It's not particularly straight, but as I say, that's fine. It will be hidden a little bit when we've got some leaves coming up either side. Okay, that's fine. So all we need to do now is put some leaves on there. So let's make those next. When it comes to making the leaves, we're going to be making them in all sorts of different sizes. So if you look here, we've got really little ones, we've got some larger ones there. In some designs I have really tall leaves as well. So it's really kind of an experiment and see with this one. So I've got all sorts of different lengths. It really doesn't matter. It's a good way of using up any just little spare bits that you've got left over. And I will show you the technique. I'm going to start with this full strip to start with. Now what we're going to start doing is just either with some scissors or your nail, just start to curl the paper, especially if you're using the Japanese tanned paper. It doesn't always curl too well. So we just kind of train it in advance so it knows what we want it to do. Okay, we're not using the quilling tool for this, we're just using our fingers. Okay, let me get nice and close to the camera so hopefully it will focus. I'm going to bring this end to meet the rest of the paper, so we just make a loop. Okay, then where the paper meets the rest of it, I'm going to put a fold. So this end is tucked into that fold. Like so. It doesn't need to be glued in place. I'm just kind of pinching it between finger and thumb. Okay, so you've got the rest of the paper here. I'm going to make another loop, and it really doesn't matter what gap you have. Just play around and do lots of different ones. So you can make a really small gap, you can have a really big one depending on how big a leaf you're making. Okay, so I've got 2 loops. Then again at the base I'm going to put another fold. So I'm basically just going round and round, making loops, and at the bottom there's a fold. Okay, so I'm using a whole strip here, so I'm going to go for a nice tall piece of grass. And then what I'm going to do is just pinch it to give it a nice point, like so. Okay, then I'm going to cut off any excess, then get the end of the strip. This is the only glue we need for this technique, and then press press that down so it's not going to unravel. And there we go, we've got our first leaf. Okay, so then you can see where you want it to go. That will fit quite nicely there, or it might go that side. It's probably the longest one I need for this, so that's great. I think I'm going to pop it that side. Okay, and then I know that I want all the others I'm going to use are going to be shorter than that one. So I'll show you again. Just curve it with my thumb, make a loop at the base of the paper, put a fold like so. So you get that kind of shape. That's tucked into the fold like so. Just takes a little bit of practice to know how it suits you to do this. I've just got enough paper on this strip to make a nice short one, nice little bit of grass, leaf. It's quite a grassy kind of leaf, isn't it? Glue the end down. And I've got another little one, so I've got a bigger one and a little one, so I'm going to keep going and just make a collection and then start to fit them on to the design. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. It is the first one of the Quirky Quillers Collective, so please do give me your feedback, say how you found it, if there's any ways you think I could improve and get better. I would love to see what you've made as well if you followed the tutorial along. So please either drop your photos into the Facebook group or send them to me direct, or on Instagram you can tag me in them. But yeah, I would love to see what you come up with and how you put your own style to it as well. Okay, so that's it from me for now as well. If you need any help or if anything's not clear, again, get in touch through Facebook or the Quilling Clinic, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. It is the first one of the Quirky Quillers Collective, so please do give me your feedback, say how you found it, if there's any ways you think I could improve and get better. I would love to see what you've made as well if you followed the tutorial along. So please either drop your photos into the Facebook group or send them to me direct, or on Instagram you can tag me in them. But yeah, I would love to see what you come up with and how you put your own style to it as well. Okay, so that's it from me for now as well. If you need any help or if anything's not clear, again, get in touch through Facebook or the Quilling Clinic, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now, guys.